Good afternoon, everybody. We are getting ready for our Cheers to 40 Years celebration with our distinguished panel of guests who have just found out they are our distinguished panel of guests. And in no particular order up here on the stage, we have Reeves Callaway of Callaway Cars. We have we're streaming this on YouTube, so I need to be more attentive to the camera. Reeves Callaway of Callaway Cars. We'll start this again. We have a younger enthusiast up here, Giuseppe Iatarola of Giuseppe's Garage. You can find him on YouTube. He's also going to be featured on Motor Week coming up in October, so you look for him there. Maybe you met him and got an autograph from him today. Future of the hobby. Lance Miller, co-owner of Carlisle Events. We have Ken Lingenfelter of Lingenfelter Performance, also with the Lingenfelter Collection in Michigan. We have Taj Juckner, Executive Chief Engineer with Corvette and Team Chevrolet. Harlan Charles, Corvette Product Manager. And Bill Miller, co-owner and co-founder of Carlisle Events. So as we celebrate 40 years of Carlisle, we're going to hand the microphone to a man who's celebrating his 50th trip around the sun this year. Lance, you've grown up at the fairgrounds. You've grown up with Corvettes at Carlisle. We'll start with you. How did this come to be 1982, 40 years ago?
My dad absolutely adored Corvettes and the Corvette people that were behind the wheel. Essentially what he wanted to do, they had spring and fall Carlisle that were going very well, and they decided, why not make a niche event like Corvettes at Carlisle? Obviously, he went to Bloomington Gold, another great event out there in Illinois, and he just decided, let's put our own event and our own flavor on it. Bloomington was much more on the judging side. He decided, I want to go another route and just have fun. And what we did later down the road was create a Celebrity Choice Award, which was just a fun way, a unique way of getting a prize for your Corvette. For whatever reason, you could just walk by, pick your car. If it's purple because you love purple, pick it. Or if it's about the people, talk to them, have fun, select their vehicle. So he's all about having a good time, and that's what this show was about, so that's exactly what he did.
And on the stage behind us, the orange Corvette is a car that your dad has had for some time, and the black one beside it, which belongs to Bill. These are the first two Corvettes that Bill and Chip ever showed here at Corvettes at Carlisle. I'm sure you have some fond memories of this one. Can you share at least one?
I do. This is the only Corvette in our collection that we've named. My older sister named it George. So meet George. George is an interesting car. It actually went, and then we found it out in California with 50 miles on the odometer, and then we shipped it back, and it was back in our family. So George came back. He was adopted for a bit.
And Bill, your Corvette here, you drive it through all the Corvette parades. You bring it to the show. Tell us a story about your Corvette.
Well, interestingly enough, I worked for a Chevrolet dealer back in the 60s, and every day I would go past this garage. There was a garage on this lot with no house, just a garage. And I'd drive past it every day. It was never open, nobody was ever there. One day, the garage door was up when I was going by, and all I saw was a little bit of the rear bumper, and I knew it was a Corvette. So I stopped in and I chatted with the folks, and he said, oh, I bought it for my wife. It doesn't have power steering. She doesn't like it. And there was stuff stacked all over the car. It was covered, but they had boxes and stuff just packed all over the car. I said, is it for sale? Well, I'd probably sell it. So he said to me that he wanted $1,300 for it. Of course, I didn't have $1,300 at the time. But this is right after I had met Chip Miller. We met in 1969. So I called Chip right away and I said, you're Mr. Corvette, you gotta help me, come take a look at this car. So I brought Chip up from York. He lived in York, Pennsylvania. I live here locally. and we went to look at the car, and he said, you know what, Bill? He said, if you can buy that car for $1,300, that's a good buy. It's probably worth $1,800 or $1,900. So we went back, walked into the garage, and he said, boy, I'll tell you what. He said, I can't sell that car for $1,300. So I thought, here we go. I'm getting beat up, right? He said, come here with me. Takes me around back, and there's a boat with a motor and trailer. He said, if you want that Corvette, you got to buy the boat too. And I want $1,500 for the pair. Well, sold the boat for $500. There she is. It's never been apart. It's a Power Glide car. You know, General Motors has been building cars and building the Corvettes for all these years. 53 years I've had this car, and I used it a lot when I first got it. Now I use it mostly in the parades and just locally. But it's unbelievable. 283 with a Power Glide automatic transmission. Nothing's ever been done to it, and it starts every time. What a car. And what a company that we're dealing with Chevrolet, right?
Well, Bill loves his cars a certain way, and while he's going to hold on to this one a little while longer, he does have a collection of cars crossing the auction block at Fall Carlisle coming up September 29th and 30th. You can learn more at carlisleauctions.com. Putting the microphone next to the hands of one Mr. Reeves Callaway. We're celebrating the 35th anniversary of Callaway Cars. There's a real nice tent and display of cars right near the crossroads. So, Mr. Callaway, what are your initial thoughts and memories of coming to Corvettes at Carlisle? How did you even get involved here?
I think it was out of respect for Chip Miller, one of the truly great men in organizing our hobby. But I have a question for the audience. This is our 35th year here. How many people have been coming for 30 years or more? That's pretty remarkable, isn't it? Yeah? Big hand. Big hand. So maybe you're like me a little bit in that my calendar gets reset by Carlisle. So we think of every year as now until next Carlisle. Why? Because we get to come and meet our owners, we get to come and meet our potential future owners, children and parents alike, and as we can all see, the atmosphere here is admirable. This is the world's best assembly of enthusiasts for the brand. So personally, I want to say thanks to everybody for coming, and glad to see you. If I don't see you this year, I'm sure it'll be next year. Thanks very much.
Reeves Callaway, ladies and gentlemen. And we go from maybe the senior member of our panel to the youngest member of our panel. Giuseppe, how are you, young man?
I'm good, you?
I'm doing all right, thank you. So Giuseppe is 11 years old, and he's got a YouTube channel called Giuseppe's Garage. How did you get involved with wrenching on cars? Where did that interest come from?
Well, I saw my dad, and he has a collision shop in Hellertown, and I saw him get wrecks in that are just blasted in the front, and I said, well, let me try to take it apart. So, I think I was like 2 years old. So I tried taking it apart, and before he knew it, I was like 6, and I was taking a whole bunch of wrecks apart, painting, and all that kind of stuff.
You've been a celebrity of sorts here this weekend at Corvettes at Carlisle. Have you had a good time interacting with people?
So far, it's been a really good time at Carlisle. So much things to look at, things to buy. It's really fun.
And you've signed a few autographs. Is your arm sore yet?
Surprisingly, no, but I did sign a lot of autographs.
You're going to be on Motor Week coming up in October. Was that a fun experience telling your story for that program?
Well, yeah, that was a fun thing to do because going in Goss's garage and stuff, Motor Week has also been very great to me, and that was another good thing to be at.
Now, look at the panel around you, from Bill Miller to Reeves Callaway, Ken Lingenfelter, Harlan Charles, Tad Juchter, and Lance Miller. This is a pretty cool group of people for you to be surrounded by right now, don't you think?
Well, all this company at Carlisle is really good company.
Oh, man, all the company is good company. How about Giuseppe? 11 years old, YouTube channel. Look for him. He may be back here at Carlisle, but look for him on the YouTube as well. Look for Giuseppe's Garage. Thank you very much, young man. We appreciate your family bringing you here.
No, thank you. Thank you.
All right, we'll continue to Taj Juckner, Executive Chief Engineer from Team Chevrolet. I think Harlan just keeps dancing around back here. Maybe he won't give me the microphone. Man. How you doing, buddy? So Taj and Harlan, I'll involve them both. What does it mean for Team Chevrolet to be at Corvettes at Carlisle each and every year? The question to both of you guys.
So a little bit like Reeves said, it's kind of a fiscal year where Corvettes of Carlisle marks a passage of each year going by. We support internally about 30 events across the country, but there's none bigger than Carlisle. We usually have the biggest group coming from Michigan, coming from Kentucky, because we have the privilege, honestly, we are so lucky to have our customers gather in such large numbers that we can interact, and a big chunk of our team can come and interact with you folks, and we get to show off our latest product, whatever it is. And so I can remember from my earliest times on Corvette. So I started on Corvette in 1993, working on the 5th generation car, which came out in 96, 97. And so I would have come to Carlisle in the late 90s. Chip was still very visible, very present, and we supported the event in a very big way, and it became almost part of our internal culture at GM. That we always had to support Carlisle. We always got really good benefit out of it. We always wanted as many people as possible to come, and we have a lot of people here this time coming who are paying their own way. They've chosen to get in the car, pay for their own gas, pay for their own hotel, because they want to be here and represent Corvette and get to meet all of the customers. So kind of from my earliest days on Corvette, Carlisle had this kind of mystique to it. You'd hear about it in the halls. This is before I came to my first one. And then coming to the first one, it was just overwhelming. The size, the scale, the number of people, the number of cars. It was just kind of crazy over the top that you could get this much of the Corvette world located in one spot. And so we've taken advantage of it, I think, over almost all the whole 40 years, even before my time. So I think it's turned into this amazing partnership, I would say. There's a synergy between what we do and need to do on Corvette and what you do here in Carlisle, and I think working together makes the whole event just that much better.
Yeah, so my experience with Carlisle actually goes back to 2001. I was actually in my job interview to get the job I have now with Dave Hill, who is Taj's predecessor. And halfway through, he says, "Oh, we got to get on the road. I'm going to Carlisle. We don't have time to finish." I was like, "Oh, great. You know, how's that going to work out?" But it turned out I was there here the next year, Taj and I, in 2002, and been coming ever since. And, you know, really, we get so much out of coming because of all of you. You ask us questions. You give us thoughts. We try to make ourselves available. So any ideas you guys have or things you'd like to improve, things you like, things you don't like, we're here for you to listen. And it really makes the Corvette yours as much as ours and all of ours, because everyone here has made the Corvette better by telling us what you like, and hopefully we're doing a good job. One thing that I did want to mention, you know, we did 10 years ago was the 30th for Carlisle, and we did the special Carlisle blue color for production, and we also did a special show car that we were bringing. And I was driving down, I was going to pair up Kirk Benyon, a lot of you know, the exterior designer, they were working on it, and he goes, "Oh, that Carlisle car, blue car came out great. It's in the shop, you want to see it?" I was like, "I do want to see it in the shop, but ask me another question, why isn't it on the truck heading to Carlisle like us?" And they're like, "Oh, they came and it wasn't ready, so they just left." So we had to turn it around and say, "Guess what, Kirk? You and I are driving that car to Carlisle right now." So we drove the Carlisle blue show car here. We took right off Design Center's floor, and nobody's ever seen anybody do that before, but we had to get it here. So that's one of the things that sticks in my mind. Cool.
What a cool memory. Thank you very much, Harlan Charles. And if you don't get a chance to interact with Harlan or Taj here at the stage, the same goes for Reeves or Mr. Lingenfelter. You can find them. For these guys, they'll be back at their tent. And as we roll through our Cheers to 40 years, Ken Lingenfelter's over here. He's here on the stage right now. And back on our autocross track is the King of the X autocross competition presented by Lingenfelter Performance. What are some of your early memories of coming to Corvettes at Carlisle, Ken?
Well, you know, we've been building and modifying and racing Corvettes. My company will be 50 years old next year. And I have to tell you, we get to a lot of different shows. My wife, Kristen, and I, as a matter of fact, have been to a whole bunch of really great Corvette shows around the country this year. But this is the best. This is the one we plan around. This is the show we enjoy the most. We get an opportunity to see people and friends at this show that we get to see once a year right here. And that makes it all really great for us. Of course, we also love making a lot of new friends too, and this is a good place to do that as well. So I've got great memories of this. And how about the charity event last night? Well, I mean, we just hit it right out of the park, Lance. That was just great. And Bill, I mean, what an incredible event. So I appreciate you guys doing this. I appreciate this show. I appreciate everybody that's here. And you can count on the fact that this is on our permanent schedule.
When I introduced you, I mentioned your museum in Michigan. Talk about that for a moment.
We've got a car collection in Michigan we started a number of years ago. There's about 200 cars there. One room dedicated to Corvette. There's about 90 Corvettes in there right now. The mission for the collection has always been charity fundraisers. We don't open to the public, but the public gets to see the collection by coming in and making a donation at the door in any amount. And we do these fundraisers. In 2019, we did 60 events there. And so it's worked out very well. But lots of fond memories of this place. And thanks so much for you guys doing it.
Thank you very much. Now, if you guys have any questions, come on down here and ask them. We have a few more minutes left of our celebration. But Bill, I ask you to talk about your car. Let me ask you about the start of Corvettes at Carlisle. Lance shared his story on kind of what prompted Chip to do it. But what was your mindset at the time back in 1982 when Chip was talking about launching this Corvette show, the first brand-specific show on the schedule?
Well, you know, we started the shows in 1974, and we basically had a flea market and a car corral. Actually, we started with an auction in the very early days. We didn't sell too many of the cars at the auction. It was kind of a little bit of an embarrassment. We'd have about 100 cars, and we'd sell about 10 or 15. So I used to go to Chip's house in York all the time, and I went past this little used car lot, and it was called the Car Corral. And I thought, wow, what a cute name. It had a regular ranch-type fence around it and everything. So I said to Chip, I said, why don't we just try having like a used car lot, and we'll call it the Car Corral. Well, now you know there's car corrals all over the world. A lot of the shows now have car corrals, but we actually donned that name back in the early 70s. You had to know Chip Miller to know his passion. Like I said, we met in 1969. We enjoyed so much time together. We spent hours and hours and hours together. Matter of fact, the first time that we met, we spent the next 36 hours together with no sleep. We just enjoyed each other so much, and we had so much in common with the car, but every other word out of his mouth was Corvette. So he was really Mr. Corvette. He got calls from all over the world, and he knew where every chalk mark was on the cars. He knew where every nut, bolt, and screw went on the cars, and people would call him just constantly about Corvettes. When I finally got to his house the first time, he had a swimming pool, and the bottom of the swimming pool, there was a Corvette emblem on the bottom of the swimming pool. Believe me, he lived and he breathes Corvette. So when we first started the shows, we had actually started the aisles in the flea market, and we called them Packard, and we called them Corvette aisle and everything. Well, it didn't work out. The only thing that ever stuck was Corvette. Corvette Row was like gold. Everybody wanted to be on Corvette Row. It was one of the best aisles in the whole place. So that was really the name that stuck. But being the Corvette guru, as the Corvette vendors were growing and growing and growing in those early days, Chip kept saying, you know what? Maybe we ought to just start a Corvette show. And interestingly enough, we gave away a brand new collector edition 1982 Corvette in 1982. You know, that's back when they were a little less expensive, guys, you know, remember 1982? The Corvettes weren't quite as expensive as they are today. And we continued to give cars away for many, many years after that at a lot of our events. Believe it or not, it was something that we tried to keep people here on Sundays. That's why we give the car away. But in the long run, people were, they're here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They were ready to go home Saturday night, so it ended up, we're slowing down on some of our Sunday days at some of the events, and it's working out quite well. We're adding Thursday and making it Thursday, Friday, Saturday instead of the Sunday events. But that's how Corvettes at Carlisle got started. It was a success from the beginning, and it was because Chip knew everybody in the Corvette world, even at that time.
A question from the gallery. 82 acres of wide open space here. Have you and Lance, or you and Chip, ever raced each other on grounds? Corvette versus Corvette, or car versus car? Has it happened?
This was set up just to embarrass Bill a little bit. I know, okay.
Only if you lost.
This used to be a racetrack, okay? What you're looking at here, we are on the infield of the racetrack where we stand here. This was a circle track with a half-a-mile dirt track that went around the fairgrounds. When we bought the fairgrounds in 1981, we had an opportunity to buy the fairgrounds. The track was in bad shape. It was dirt. There's a lot of horses here and everything. There was 3 stables on grounds. And we inherited the Carlisle Fair. Now the Carlisle Fair, people don't realize, but about 80% of the fairs in Pennsylvania lose money. And the Carlisle Fair, all of a sudden, we had to pay everybody. It used to be volunteers that were at the fairs, but we had to start paying everybody, and we were basically, anything we were making on the flea market, we were losing on the fairs. But everything that's done at the fairs is dangerous. The rides, the games they play, just everything at the fair. Our insurance was going crazy. But the one day, we had the old timers, and the old timers were the guys that had the race cars from the 20s and the 30s. And these cars were very expensive cars. And Chip, one of the presidents of the Race Car Association, said, "You and Chip ought to race around the fairgrounds with these cars." Well, like I said, the track was in bad shape. I've never driven one of those kind of cars in my life. They have a handbrake, okay? You have to pump the gas. They don't have fuel pumps, so you're pumping the gas all the time, and you're trying to drive, and you're trying to shift. Well, I only had 2 hands. It took about 4 of them to make this car go. I was petrified. We're racing around the track, and Chip is like, when you come to the corners of the track, the car would bounce just sideways up against the fence. I mean, we're driving these cars that are worth all this kind of money, and I'm petrified, and he's like 2 track lengths ahead of me. So it was the embarrassment of all these years, but I always get busted on because Chip was so much better of a race car driver than Bill was.
But you got to do it. Lance, quick story, any fond memories of your time growing up here at Corvettes at Carlisle?
I have a lot of great memories here. Always have fun every year. One of my favorites is actually with the gentleman next to me here on my left, Taj. We went and we always do like a little dinner get together. We decided that was a little bit stale, dry, I guess you could say. And I'm like, you know what? Let's mix it up. So I act like I'm 4 years old. I'll never change. I'm always going to be young at heart, even though I'm older. But hey, I still have fun. I always want to have fun. So I take them to a go-kart track, of all things. And I'll never forget, I'm walking in, and I never did this. I just totally did it on a whim. I'm like, let's try this. This will be cool. We'll get some crappy cardboard pizza. This will be fun. So we walk in, and I turn around, and I look at Taj, and he's just literally like grinding his teeth, like, really? What are we doing at some kid's place? And better yet, we start racing around the track, and I see him, and he jumps in first. Oh, look, he's going to cut me off now. Now he's got a mic. Uh-oh. So we're walking in, and he gets in line first, and I'm in the second group. He's in the first group. Well, I butt in line. I said, guys, I'm sorry. I want to be in this group because I'm gonna go after him. I'm gonna have fun. And we go in, we're ripping around, and it becomes competitive. It's a real little course. It's fun, but it doesn't matter if you're going slow or fast. You're still competitive. So I found out he's competitive. So I go, and I actually bumped the side of him, and we both are about 2 inches from one another. Didn't know each other well at all. Look over at him, and we both just smiled, but it was like, I'm gonna get you smile. So that was a cool memory, and it was a lot of fun. It was one of those things just totally not anticipating, and now he's going to change my entire story. So go ahead, Taj. What do you remember?
Not entirely, but it is true. He took us to the kart track. It was a lot of fun. I wasn't gritting my teeth. That's good fun for us to blow off some steam after being at this event. And if you look at the kart track, like most of them that you see, there's signs everywhere saying no contact permitted. Do not bump the karts. What I didn't know is Lance was like buying out the whole place. He could do whatever the heck he wanted. And so he didn't just tap me. He came after me. I was trying to run a gentlemanly race. Follow the lines. Be fair. But no, he's out for blood. He says gentle tap. I got home, my phone was bent. I had it in my pocket and my seatbelt across, and it bent my phone. And I was bruised everywhere because this guy is an animal. He is an animal out there. But now, once I knew the rules, it was on. All's fair.
It was on.
And he told those guys to stand back, and it was bumper cars. It was awesome. It was a great time.
It really was, and that's the fun. You just jump in. That's what these weekends are about. There's always great memories, and that's just one of many.
Well, gentlemen and Giuseppe, young man, thank you for being here. Reeves Callaway has another appointment, so he's walked away. But if anybody has any questions, please come on up. In the meanwhile, from Jody Morrison over here, the assistant, well, I hope it wasn't fragile, the assistant to Bill and Lance, she has gifts for you guys. Bill, I'll give you the green one. That's the one I just dropped. Lance, here's the orange one. I don't know what's in there, but it's from Jody.
Did you give Bill the broken one?
Maybe, probably.
Oh,
all right. What'd you get? Is it a...
Kim's Gold Dust. I can already tell. Kim's
It's a bracelet.
Gold Dust created this. It's a beautiful bracelet that says Corvettes at Carlisle 40.
Very cool.
40th anniversary. That's very kind of you. Thank you.
So glad that
love
wasn't
Jody.
fragile.
She's awesome. Please give her a big round of applause. She works her butt off along with the entire Carlisle Events team.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Cool.
To Mr. Callaway, Mr. Lingenfelter, Giuseppe, Lance, Harlan, Taj, Bill. Thank you guys for being here. We still have a couple of things going on. In fact, you can follow us over to the east side of the grounds for our Rolling Exhaust Contest finals. We also have our awards parade coming up and our downtown Carlisle parade. If you did sign up for the parade, you still need to check in with the DCA, so make sure you stop by and do that. By the way, one little thing I kind of buried here. You have set a new fun field record at Corvettes at Carlisle, so give yourself a round of applause. At last check, the fun field record was 2,921 cars. Obviously, the show wraps up later on today, so that number may go up by a car or two, but it breaks the previous fun field mark set in 2019, which I believe was 2,889. So bigger and better. Biggest Corvette show ever. Thank you for being here. Between the fun field cars and the Corvettes in general parking, we can easily and continually say 5,000 plus cars can be seen here at Corvettes at Carlisle. So thank you very much. And thank you, gentlemen.
Special thanks to each and every one of you for coming out. We realize you could be anywhere this weekend. If it weren't for you, we would not be here. And thank you so much for coming out and joining us. If it's your first time, we love fresh eyes. Even if it's 40 years you've been here, we always ask you to go online, check it out at carlisleevents.com, and provide us with some feedback. This party's for you, so the only way we can improve is by your input. So by all means, any complaints, any raves, whatever it may be sure to share it with us. That's the only way we can grow. Thank you for being here.